I might start with a laughing exercise.
Okay.
Just say to everybody, look, okay, yeah, we're all a bit nervous, and if you're not, I am. So we're going to do a little exercise. I said, and I'm going to show you, basically, it's a laughing exercise. It relieves tension, and I'll show you how it's done. Now, if everybody can just go with me, and then we just do 10 seconds of that, and then we're ready. Everybody ready? And just get them all to participate in the joke of what I really go on. Go, you know what, Leroy? You're funny as fuck.
Okay, Leroy, we need to start. So, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And the title of your book.
Okay. Well, hello, Radio Merseyside listeners. This is Leroy Cooper, the Cosmic Ambassador, speaking to you about my latest project, Back in the Day, Volume 1, a collection, a short anthology of iconic photographs that I've taken from the mid-80s to the end of the 80s. And yeah, I'm doing a book launch on Wednesday, the 30th of October at the Blue Coat. It's on from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you can get there to witnessification, a testification, it'd be lovely to see you all.
We would have missed this because this will be going out after.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, Leroy, I'm going to ask you, first question is, where did your love for photography come from?
Well, critically, at school I wasn't particularly taken with art. I was more of an academic student. When I left school, and I made a friendship with Andrew John. Andrew John was a very talented artist, and Andrew always used to try and encourage me to paint. So we'd sit in his and he'd be painting, and we go, yeah, there's paint, have a go. But you know, when somebody is really that good that you feel intimidated, I could only draw stick men. He's drawing characters out of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I know I'm a competitive person, I can't compete with that, but I'm good with words. So while he would draw, I would write something down. One day, Andrew invited me to go to his college where he was doing an art course, and he took me around the building and took me into every department. And there was something about going in the photography department where I looked and I thought, yeah, I could learn to do photography. I may not be naturally gifted at drawing, but I could learn photography. So I looked into it, and I went to the Open Eye when it used to be by the Bubble bus stops around the back of by St John's Market, next door to Desperate Dan's Cafe. And they had a 12-week course in black and white photography. So I went on that. You had to go in the studio, you had to learn all about the chemical processes and the magic of putting a blank piece of paper in a chemical bath, shaking it, and something magically appearing. Instinctively, I used to go in the cafe next door to have a cup of coffee and a ciggy. And obviously I just instinctively started taking photographs of the people in the cafe because I had my camera there and I was all juiced up of being next door on the project. And when I spoke to the people who were leading the project, they said, that's the thing, you need to find your subjects, the things that interest you, that you want to comment on. And they always say, you know, like a novelist, write about what you know. And I thought, well, yeah, my community in Liverpool is very unique and very special. It's 300 years old. It's got a connection to Liverpool that goes back through slavery days. And we are the latest generation of black people to put up with Liverpool's institutional attitude towards us. And I said, I've stopped calling it institutional racism. It's just blatantly institutional hateism. And so I wanted to address some of these issues and, in a way, as I said, retain my own integrity, but also show the humanity of my community and show that, yeah, don't believe everything that you read in the press or on social media about black people or Muslims or diverse people. I can show you the real people, and they're not threatening, they're not going to get you, they're just trying to live a life like anybody else, send the children to school, look for employment opportunities, just build a life. The very things that I was trying to do myself. So my photography is like a diary of my own experience.
It's quite political.
Well, it's political if you want it to be political.
Yeah.
It's artistic if you want it to be artistic. Because the important thing, it doesn't matter what I think. It's more important what people see when they come to the work, because they bring different experiences that I haven't had to the work when they look at it. So somebody might look at my work and just see something completely in it that I didn't see, and that's fantastic, because that's what it's about. As I always say to people, as an artist, I don't know the answers to some of the problems and things that we talk about that are political, but I do know some of the poignant questions to ask, to raise debate, and for us to discuss.
So in terms, because I've seen a lot of your work and you like to play with colours. So early on, would you say it was mainly black and white, and as time went on, you started experimenting with effects?
No, you know what it is that when I started, it was a black and white photography course. All the books that I began to look at to do research was all, old classic photographers. And so I just got into my head that, if you want your work to be taken seriously and iconic and classical, it has to be black and white, like these classical fellas here. Obviously, as time's progressed and as technology's advanced, you don't really go into a studio anymore to print, because it's all digital. So software like Photoshop has become like the studio. And so having Photoshop, access to computer technology, the artist in me just plays with it. I once said to somebody, what do you think Leonardo da Vinci would make of having Photoshop? They just laughed and laughed and laughed, and I said, yeah, I know, he'd love it, wouldn't he? But yeah, he didn't have that, but I have, so I can take advantage of technology to enhance the work and just give it an edge.
So you said, so you're launching volume 1. How many volumes are we talking?
Well, in this particular series, there's going to be 3.
Okay. And how many pictures?
Well, technically that would depend on funding and finance.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think I've found a simple classic format that makes the work accessible. It isn't overly wordy. It is about the photographs, but there's just enough to make the points and raise the issues and celebrate it the way I want to celebrate it. So yeah, each there's going to be 3, and each will have its own text and its own images, and go, yeah, that's the first batch. Because the important thing is, out of all this, is that I've actually registered a company, and the company name is CAPSTONE Media Company. But I'm not yet ready to trade.
Yeah.
This book is like a promotional test market research project to see, is there really an appetite and an interest and a love of Liverpool and an appreciation and a respect for Liverpool 8, where people from a wide and broad demographic will go, yeah, I'll have that for 20 quid. Go ahead, lad, give us one of them. And hopefully it will.
And you know what? You mentioned you're good with words, and you are. You always. I don't know how you do it, but every picture that
I'll let you into a secret.
Go on.
I said, what you think in your head,
yeah,
you let it come out of your mouth. Sometimes some people have no filter. I know this, but it's like when people talk to me about writing, I always say to them, well, why don't you just write down what you think? Because you don't have any problem speaking to me.
Yeah.
So why should you have any problem writing down exactly the same things what you're saying, but just on a piece of paper? It might just be that, yeah, I have a unique thought pattern,
yeah,
like a cosmic, universal thought pattern. So I do see things and think of things in a slightly alternative way to most people. But I'm not that far left of field that, yeah, my work is unintelligible or hard to understand. I'm just lucky. That's all I can say. I am just really lucky.
Well, because each picture, I don't know whether it's each picture, but most pictures is it all the pictures you've got, you've named them?
Well,
Or you put words
well,
next to them?
I think technically, that's what I'm saying, each picture should have a title.
Yeah.
It should have some time log reference to what's when and where it was.
Yeah.
Because as I said, these are not just photographs.
Yeah.
They are actually photographic documents, cultural archival documents that, as I said, 100 years from now, a student might refer to doing a degree course. Your own son in 20 years might refer to them as part of one of his media courses.
Yeah.
And that is really my wish. I often say to people, when I used to take photographs, I never used to try and hustle the people who was in my images for money, for prints or anything like that, because that was never the point. The point was always to generate an archive and generate a legacy and leave something behind when I'm no longer here. And go, yeah, that was Leroy Cooper. That was what he stood for. That's his work. That's why he's one of Liverpool's favourite sons, and he is a proper legend.
I love it. Now, because we want people to buy your book, so before I let you go, you've got a poem.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you read one for us?
I will do, but before I go, I'll say, yeah, if anybody wants to get a copy of the book, you can go online to eBay, and if you put in the search engine, Leroy Cooper, back in the day, Volume 1, photography, it should take you to the link where you can find the book online and available. Yeah. I did a project with WOW in 2007 where I did an exhibition for one day only at the Tate. One day only, but it's still on my CV. And I don't know if you remember like the South Bank show, which was like an arty-farty programme back in the day. But the presenter's name was Melvin Bragg. And so in my head I thought, yeah, I want to recreate a South Bank type experience. And so Brian Biggs, the artistic director from the Blue Coat, kindly agreed to play my Melvin Bragg on stage. And I was the enfant terrible of Liverpool art. And me and him were in like a conversational thing. And at the end of it was open up to the audience for questions. And one person from within the community, whose name shall remain nameless, put his hand up and said, yeah, but they're just snapshots, aren't they? Which I thought was quite dismissive and disrespectful. I thought, but don't rise to the bait, Leroy. Answer him in a way. And I explained that, yeah, if we could see a snapshot of a Nigerian village 300 years ago, obviously they didn't have photography then, but if we could see a snapshot of a Nigerian village 300 years ago, I'm sure it would be fascinating. And as I said, these pictures are not so much for people now, they're for people in times yet to come, when they look back and go, yeah, how did they survive? Look at them smoking cigarettes. Look at the way they're dressed. These are all the classic things. When I look at photographs, I'm amazed, and I'm hoping that one day that my work can fit into that same category in Liverpool's cultural future and go, yeah, they're not just snapshots, but those searing words never left the brain of Leroy, and as a result, I wrote a poem. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I am a black man, born in Jamaica, brought here to Liverpool as a 12-month-old baby. I attended school, and not until my teenage years did I hear anything about the Transatlantic slave trade. My parents never spoke of it to me. I learned that Liverpool was the most important port in Europe in the capture of human beings, Africans, the transportation of human beings, Africans, the buying and selling of human beings, Africans. I'm not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. Africans were taken by Europeans to places like America, Barbados, Cuba, Brazil, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Colombia, and Jamaica. The more I learned, I realised that The sugar on my breakfast cereal was the white gold that drove the trade, along with cotton and rum. I learned that Great Britain's Industrial Revolution was built on the profits from slavery. Royalty were involved. In fact, started it. Queen Elizabeth I. First the privateers, then the merchants and the traders, ship owners, rope makers. Even the Church of England owned human beings. Enslaved Africans owned plantations. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I learned that the Christian Church gave the trade its blessing, claiming blacks have no soul and are more akin to beasts of burden. So there was no moral or spiritual dilemma here for good Christians to concern themselves with. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I learned that the place of my birth was a sugar concentration camp where human beings were worked from sunrise to sunset to death. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I learned that no one willingly submits to slavery. I learned that the spirit and the mind of a human being must be broken by severe punishment to the point of, if you want to live, if you want to keep on breathing, if you want to stay alive, you submit. You do as you are told. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I learned that some Africans escaped up into the hills, the maroons. I learned that I had been planted down by the river in Babylon. I devoured books. I drank information. I excelled in education. I grew into an ebullient, creative young man with an interest in history. I left school. I left home. I lived in a hostel. I made new types of friends. I attended college. I made new types of friends. There was high unemployment. I made new types of friends. Eventually, my path crossed the police. Often. I paid the price. I was involved in a situation that led to 3 policemen being seriously beaten by a crowd of young people. I was the only person arrested. They say this was the spark to the 1981 Tocked Uprising. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. My barrister was in league with the prosecution to get me to plead guilty. I was told that I would get 3 to 5 years if I pleaded not guilty and was found guilty, which my barrister assured me that I would be. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I was sent to Borstal. My life was affected forever. I woke up to the politics and the real-life effects of racial discrimination within the British social system. I made a choice to become an artist as a positive way to confront this injustice. I realised violence was not the answer. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I did a course in photography at the Open Eye. I fell in love with photography. I decided to dedicate my life to documenting the secret life of Liverpool through the medium of black and white photography, the extraordinary, everyday people going about their lives, coping with life's problems, but with humour and an inner strength. I felt a link to all the history of Liverpool and to all its future. I wanted to make a positive contribution to my city. I wanted to celebrate and positively represent my community. I am not some bumbling tourist with a camera taking snapshots. I discovered that I enjoyed painting. I discovered I had a passion for art and creativity. This has been my motivation, and this has been my salvation. I do not want to be remembered just for being involved in the 1981 riots. I am a filmmaker, a musician, an author, a dancer, a loyal friend. I am a human being with feelings, gifted in the arts of communication. I am not some bumbling tourist taking snapshots.
Do you know of the water of life? It is said, a man will come, the queen Transatlantic. He will go where we cannot. Many men have tried.
They tried and failed.
They tried and died. They tried and died. They tried and died. Do you know of the water of life? It is said, a man will come. He will go where we cannot. Do you know of the water of life?
Holds me down. Holds me down.
A man will come. He will go where we cannot.
And then you go
Do
and
you
burn it back
know of the
down.
water of life?
Picked up all the pieces and then you go and burn it back down. Holds me down. Holds me down. Flames are getting higher, I need someone to bring me back down. Flames are getting higher, I need someone to bring me back down. Turn on the lights and see that nothing's changed. Yesterday lies, today's unexplained. Holds me down. Holds me down. TV and the papers disguising all the capers they drown. Yesterday they saved you, tomorrow they will burn you back down. Turn on the lights and see that nothing's changed. Yesterday lies, today's unexplained. I'll fight back.
Do you know of the water of life? It is said, a man will come. It is Transatlantic. He will go where we cannot.
Holds me down.
Of the water of life.
Picked up all the pieces and then you go and burn it back down. Flames are getting higher, I need someone to bring me back down. Turn on the lights, see that nothing's changed. Yesterday lies, today's unexplained.
Of the water of life.